Hidden Depths of Scripture. Episode 4, Knowing versus Believing. Here's a question that sounds simple, but the longer you sit with it, the more it changes everything. Is faith about believing, or is it about knowing? Because those two words feel similar on the surface, but they lead to completely different lives, completely different relationships with God, completely different versions of you. And most of us were only ever handed one of them. From the earliest age, most of us were taught to believe. Times believe in God, believe in the story, believe what the text says, believe what the preacher teaches. And belief has its place. It's a beginning, a door. But here's what rarely gets said. A door is not a destination. Belief is where you start, not where you're supposed to stay forever. Yet for millions of people, belief never becomes anything more. They hold a theology in their mind like a fact about a country they've never visited. They can describe it, defend it, debate it, but they have never been there. Times they have never felt the ground beneath their feet. What if true spirituality was never primarily about believing in God, but about experiencing God? Not as a concept, not as a doctrine, but as a living, present, undeniable reality moving inside your own chest. Think about the mystics across every tradition, the Desert Fathers, the Sufi poets, the Christian contemplatives. They weren't people who believed harder than everyone else. They were people who went deeper than everyone else. They stopped collecting information about God and started making contact, and every single one of them came back saying the same thing. I cannot give you what I found, but I can tell you, there is something to find. Paul didn't just believe his way to Damascus. Something happened to him, an encounter, a rupture, a knowing that no argument could later undo. That's not belief, that's gnosis. The Greek word gnosis simply means knowledge, but not the kind you find in a textbook. The Gnostics used it to describe a direct, interior, personal knowing of the divine. Not secondhand, not inherited, not borrowed from someone else's testimony. Yours. Time's Gnostic teachers drew a sharp distinction between three kinds of people. The Hylics, those who live entirely in the material world, untouched by spiritual reality. The Psychics, those who believe, who follow, who are sincere, but who relate to God through faith alone, through ritual, through what they've been told. And the Pneumatics, those in whom the divine spark has fully awakened, who no longer merely believe in the light. They are the light. They move from within it. They speak from it. Now, before that sounds like arrogance, understand what the Gnostics meant. This wasn't about superiority. It was about activation. Times, the pneuma, the divine breath, lives in all of us, but not all of us have let it wake up. The pneumatic isn't someone better than you. They're someone who stopped settling for a map when the actual territory was waiting. Because here's the difference, and I want you to really feel this. Imagine you've never felt warmth in your life, and someone hands you a book about fire. You read everything. You study the chemistry, the physics. You memorize the descriptions. You believe in fire. You can give a lecture on it, but you have never stood next to a flame. You have never felt the heat move across your skin, never watched something transform in its presence. Now imagine the moment you finally do. All the reading, every word, every definition, every doctrine collapses into 1 second of reality. And you realize no description ever came close. Times, that's the difference between belief and gnosis. One holds truth at arm's length, studies it, protects it, argues about it. The other lets truth through. Times into the body, into the breath, into the bones, and once you've felt the heat, no one can tell you fire isn't real. Not a philosopher, not a skeptic, not a council, not a creed. You know, times and knowing is a different kind of foundation than believing. Now, I want to hold this carefully. I'm not saying belief is worthless. I'm not saying your faith journey has been wasted if it's been built on trust rather than direct experience. Belief is often what carries us through the seasons before the knowing arrives. It's the seed before the root, the threshold before the room. But here's what I want to offer you. What if you were never meant to stay at the threshold? What if every ritual, every prayer, every sincere seeking was always pointing you towards something more immediate than doctrine? Not a God you hold an opinion about, but a God you encounter, times directly, personally, undeniably. That possibility, that invitation, has never left the table. Most of us were just never told it was there. So let me ask you, and I genuinely want to hear your answer. Have you ever had a moment, even once, where God or the divine or something greater than yourself felt real to you? Not just believed, not just hoped. Times that moment, however brief, however strange, may be the most important data point in your entire spiritual life, because it means the fire is real. It means the heat is accessible. It means gnosis isn't a philosophy. It's an experience waiting to happen again. Would you rather believe or truly know? Times leave your answer below. And episode 5, we go somewhere that will challenge everything you thought the fall of man was really about.